Welcome in here to the HGC North America, where we have a big day ahead of you. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you've stuck around during that EU marathon, so to speak, as we just had there, welcome back. My name is Jay Howe. Joining me over here is Dreadnought. And Dreadnought, early start, we're going to see some of the contenders, but at the end of the day today, we've got the top teams facing off.
It's going to be awesome to have Tempo Storm taking on Heroes Hearth Esports, though they maybe looking at the Western Clash didn't have the expected results from either one of these teams. I can't help but feel like now that we're back to North American HGC soil, that it is going to be a very tense match between those two squads.
Well, we can take a look at the schedule for today on how this will unfold, because at the start of the day, we will have these are the standings. We'll take a look at the schedule in just a moment, because the standings, you can see the top two teams with Heroes Hearth and Tempo Storm 8-0, obviously trying to continue their reign at the top. They've been undefeated since the second part of Phase 1. They're looking to continue that reign against Tempo Storm later today.
And I think it's kind of fitting, too, when looking at that series, knowing that Tempo Storm went undefeated way back 2 parts ago. Then we got Heroes Hearth able to go undefeated in North America into the last part. So this is now kind of the tiebreaker, if you will, between those two teams on who is the one to truly overcome and claim themselves the North American champion.
Now we can take a look at that schedule, because it started off the day on that marathon schedule for EU. It was Leftovers versus Method going all 5 games. Dignitas dropping game number 1 to Fnatic, but showing their championship medal. Later we will get Tempo Storm versus Heroes Hearth, but Dreadnought, again, back to that main focus. We've got no Tomorrow versus Octalysis to start our day.
Very interesting matchup here, I feel like, for both of these teams. I feel like come from interesting standings. Octalysis, obviously, with one of the more kind of successful backgrounds, but as a roster, I can't help but feel like they have just never been able to gain the traction that they, you know, maybe have when we look at them as a 5-man roster, because they are very, very qualified players, but they just, again, cannot find that synergy and level that maybe we've been looking for. So I'm hoping to see them kick off part number 2 with that level of synergy and coordination.
We've got a lot to talk about there, as well as no Tomorrow, but before we get started into that, we're actually going to hear from the teams themselves as we get ready for this matchup.
This weekend we have Octalysis first. Going in, I think this is a match that would be very important for us to win. I think Octalysis is a really strong team, but out of the top 4, they seem to be on the weaker end. Doesn't mean it's going to be an easy match by any means. It's going to be a tough one. I really hope we can pull it out. I think the key to this set may be dealing with Goku. I feel like he's had really strong performances in the off lane, and I think our ability to match him or shut him down may prove vital in this series.
I'd say the event at Western Clash as a whole went pretty well for us. I think we did what we came to do. We knocked out Tempo Storm on the first day, so I think our goal was pretty much completed there. But I do feel we could have probably made it farther had I not gotten sick in the tournament and felt like I was playing really poorly against Leftovers because of it. So I really don't think we showed our full potential, and I think that we learned a lot, and I think we'll be a lot stronger because of it. We pretty much need to win every single match in this part if we want to make it to BlizzCon, so every match is really important. Our first match is against No Tomorrow, and it should be a 3-0, but we're going to have to make sure we keep Jay Shrite under control, because he's a monster.
Jay Shrite, a monster. It's almost like he looks across and he's just thinking, let's go, champ. You know, he's ready for it. But, you know, focus and potential for this team has always been the name of the game when we look at Octalysis Dreadnought. I know it's a word that you have some feelings about, but the potential for this team, I had a chance to talk to their coach before this week started over the break, and it was after the clash. We heard from Octalysis. I heard from them. They said, look, we're tired of trying to adapt to all the different metas. They acknowledged they tried to do way too much in part 1, and we saw that narrow in quite a bit at Western Clash, but they feel they still had work to do. And now they're looking at, they said, you know what, forget it. We're playing our own meta. If you look back a year ago, the core of this team is still there. And they said, we are going to continue to play our meta, because that's what, when we were at our highest success, was last year around this time. So they're looking to replicate that. But Dreadnought, the meta exists for a reason. When teams play outside of the meta, you don't always have the same type of success. Your thoughts on Octalysis' mindset coming in?
I think it's a interesting one, and definitely in a short-term run, I think it's likely to net a lot of success. But I guess I have skepticism whenever I hear this, right, from a roster. I think it's going to net them the ability to have short-term synergy and probably success within North America. But as time goes on, it not only provides a lot of opportunities to have easy answers to be able to deal with these compositions, but you need to have a lot of them and a lot of diverse ones, and they can't be rough around the edges. And so I'm not saying that it's not possible, but as it currently stands in competitive history, if that is the go-to strategy, you almost never make it past 1 or 2 representative within your region. And then once you see that international front, it's usually a big wall of just no, welcome to MVP Black, with that exact same mentality that we see them have into the past. So I guess I'm skeptical, but I'm hoping they stick it a little bit close to the meta, but just, you know, again, their own flavor on top of it.
I 100% agree with you. I think I've always been one of the bigger critics towards teams that say, hey, look, we're just going to do our thing. It's good for a while, but as you said, it does come to those roadblocks, especially to international tournaments. But to turn our focus back towards this match, let's see what battlegrounds we will be going to. Is No Tomorrow. They're going to take us to Dragonshire, a map that we know they've played the double global on, had some success on this, and this is a map that we've seen Octalysis ban out multiple times. That and Sky Temple are the only 2 maps that they've banned. For No Tomorrow Dread, obviously we know they've played the double global style. It almost worked once. It worked a second time. That was No Tomorrow Part 1. The announcement for No Tomorrow was that they have role changes.
Yeah.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 role changes. This is unprecedented, unheard of. But for a team that's at the bottom, there's only one way to go. So they're shifting that. Jen, who came in during Part 2 after Jason departed from the team, came in as the tank. He's moved over to the offlane. Casanova, who has experimented early this year in the tank role and in the past, is moving back to the tank role. And Tomster, T-God, as he was once known in that ranged carry role, is back there. I did ask him, are we going to see any Greymane? He said, I wish Greymane was better right now. It might have been in different words. But rest assured, T-God might be coming back here soon as we get this draft underway.
I sure hope so here, because No Tomorrow very much need to be able to display signs of life here, coming back from the break that we got between Part 1 and Part 2. That is a huge amount of change. As you said, it is unprecedented. We have not seen this level of role swapping, at least not in one time within a 5-man roster. So I can't help but feel like, Jay-How, if we were to open this up on, you know, the dread skepticism levels between the running our own meta and role swapping 3 people, I definitely feel more, you know, kind of timid here for No Tomorrow. I feel like they have a lot to prove, but I'm excited to see what they have happen. But I feel like that means from like the world of analysis and draft, like I have no idea what this roster is going to break out.
Question mark, question mark, question. I'm sure a lot of people have question marks, maybe even in chat at times. But Urel, that's not a question mark. We know her strength on Dragonshire. We saw Dahaka banned out, taking away one of the globals. That has been the Dahaka Falstad style that we've seen. Jay Shrite moving over to the flex role will likely be on that Maiev. That's one thing that we can almost bank on with some of these changes. So that is something, as we get further and further down this, we do have to adapt. But for a team like No Tomorrow, it's a team in transition. And then you look at Octalysis, who said, we're looking to play our own meta again. There could be some transition periods there as well.
Well, a good way to kind of move down your own avenue there is with that Medivh, you know, not only because the portal kind of avenue he will produce, but just he's a hero that the playstyle, if you are very coordinated with him, and the demand of the respect that you can get out of your opponent is colossal. I feel like if you are truly ever going to be a team that is going to go down the route of we want to play our own playstyle, if you are masters of Medivh, you have already a huge advantage within a majority of these drafts. So it's cool to see that here from Octalysis on a map like Dragonshire too, where you can really gain advantages with some clever portal play. Phoenix will be taken off the table though here for No Tomorrow. They got a lot of, you know, kill potential on lockdown when it comes to their 4-man, but not so much when looking at its wave clear, which normally, especially now that the Medivh's picked up, something you got to be looking at.
Yeah, so the Phoenix taken away there. We know, and we actually saw Draded step his play up tremendously at the Clash, starting to move in towards that flex roll. There was too many times, even as that's a quick pickup of Raynor and Johanna there. So wave clear definitely there on the side of No Tomorrow. Octalysis still has a lot to go. But the one thing that we saw too much of from Octalysis, there was one series where both Draded and Prismat both played the same role in that flex melee. And it's just, it was too much. And they've narrowed that in, and I think Draded on the Medivh is something that definitely comes to mind.
Okay.
We've got ourselves a Zul and a Tychus. This is a solo tank Zul.
It's a solo tank Urel?
I'm just
I don't know.
Like, no. Look, I told you they were going to play their own meta. I didn't expect this right out of the gate.
Yeah, this is a little different than just your own meta, Jay-How. This is going down the rabbit hole here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a composition and playstyle that pretty much died with BHB within the competitive map pool. And if you're saying, Dread, BHB's never been in the competitive map pool, that is because, yes, this also has never been there. This is a playstyle where you get the Zul offlane split push, where you get a lot of pressure within the 4-man of the portal plays for ganking opportunities within 3-2 splits and just essentially abusing that massive amount of wave clear. But this is... Again, what I'm talking about is like a couple of Zul patches ago. This is when he was kind of relevant, and there was a major argument to be able to have him on specific battlegrounds. Say how he is a, I don't want to say he's turned himself into a skeleton, you know, but he's definitely, yeah, like gone down a lot of nerfs and a lot of struggles here. I love the fact that they're going to go down their own route, but man, this is scary.
But think about this, right? We have Zul. Zul's best asset is a point-and-click lockdown.
2 seconds.
Does take time. And then I look over and I see Leoric, unstoppable. I see Johanna, unstoppable. I see Maiev, well, a lot going on with Maiev. And then Raynor, 6.5 attack range. Good luck getting there. Deckard, he'll just sleep you. Zul does, he lacks mobility. That's one of the reasons why Zul, at times when he was kind of in the meta, it was lacking the mobility. You have the Medivh. But man, I tell you what, we are getting things started. This is crazy today, man. Let's get into this because game number 1 underway here. No Tomorrow versus Octalysis. I don't even know what to expect from this one, but we've got Casanova, again, moving over to that tank role. He's going to be on the Johanna. Tomster will be on Raynor. Jay Shrite on the Maiev. Jen, again, moving to that side lane. He's going to be on Leoric. But Akapace, of course, on that support role. Nothing else for that guy. He's on Deckard.
Solo Warrior here, whether it be the Yrel or the Zul. Interesting composition from Octalysis, where we're going to have Justing on that Zul. Goku playing the Yrel. Draded here will, in fact, be the Medivh player for this roster. Prismaticism repping on the Tychus. And last up, Whitemane here, played by Buds. So... first thoughts when looking at the composition for Octalysis, they need to snowball the map control into their favor and manipulate a lot of the vision and information onto their side. So anything No Tomorrow can do to slow down that pacing is very important from them. Lockdown already landing there along with the knockback onto Casanova, unable to make it out. Our meta is the meta is what Octalysis is saying here 30 seconds into Dragonshire picking up the first blood.
You know, look, I got news for everybody. Call your kids, call your wife, and call your husband because they're breaking up the meta. And right now, I can tell you one thing. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, this is the tip of the iceberg. And how big that iceberg is might depend on how game 1 goes. But, look, No Tomorrow has all the tools in the world on how to deal with this. There's even a play at level 20 with Raynor getting unstoppable depending on heroic choice. I'm just... we're watching it all unfold right in front of our very eyes. I've never seen anything like it.
One thing I will say that is very difficult from No Tomorrow's position in this type of battleground and in this type of game when you don't expect this type of draft coming out is it forces you to really understand the major win conditions of every battleground and some of the smaller intricacies. When you hear me go, they don't have to cater to a standard laning matchup in this game and that they can look for a pressure on the top lane in earlier stages and that's where they should snowball their advantages. Those kind of very, very small things that you have to identify, and if they are not able to identify that fast enough into the earlier stages, and in my opinion, a lot of it is slowing this game down, not letting the map control get out of control and be comfortable going even as long as they make it post-16 to even footing. And as long as they can identify those things, they very much could make this a problematic composition for Octalysis. But at the same time, how many times have you seen this composition, right? It's very hard to dig deep.
Got to adapt on the fly.
Your Zul analysis is definitely a bit out of the meta as long as he is.
Well, I will say this as well. When I look at this, the adaptation on the fly, there is one thing that most notably sticks out to me. Johanna was our first death of this game. Johanna has Iron Skin. Why can't you walk away as Johanna? Well, at level 1, you have a talent to reduce the cooldown on your Iron Skin, but we don't see that. We see Laws of Hope picked up, which is a self-heal. So there is adaptations within your own... not even once you get past the draft in your own talents, we don't see that right out of the gate. And whether that repeats itself is yet to be determined, but right out of the gate, very much had an effect.
It is a little interesting, though, because then it shows that 4 out of the 5 members of No Tomorrow, everybody but the Maiev compositionally wants to be able to take that long sustaining fight except her. Prismat's going to get the dash in here by himself while the rest of the members making the flank down. They have a portal over the wall. There we see them take it there. Prismat able to make it out. Jay Shrite with the vault has the opportunity to follow up onto the shadow. Will do so. Prismat, though, stuck in a corner there. Eats a punishment. Casanova with the condemned back. Not enough damage coming through on the autos. Shield there from Draded trying to help Buds out, but he will not make it. Justing gets slapped down against the wall, and No Tomorrow here fighting back, gaining their first moment of control on Dragonshire.
Yeah, if you ever wonder what happens when you don't have the mobility, there's answer number 1. as we did see 2 takedowns there by No Tomorrow. So again, fighting back, that's, you know, we got the portal play, we got it over, they got the route onto the Zool, but Prismat was isolated, had already taken too much damage, couldn't follow up there. They just didn't have the pop beyond that.
And JL, that's normally something we look at and we go, you know, a kill into the early game, a little bit of momentum. That's a big problem when looking at this composition. Yeah. This composition needs to, right out the gates, I was talking about how much macro pressure and control that they need, and then abusing the information based on those pressures in the lane. One of the best places to make that happen would be counter initiation over one of those camps, stealing it, gaining the momentum into it, and then again, stacking that lead for them. So all major advantages that this composition, from my first glance at it, is very heavily getting sent against them. And that's, again, those small things that No Tomorrow should be keeping track of with this comp they can't early game skirmish. They aren't going to be able to skirmish nearly as well. Macro pressure has to be a thing. So I like the fact that we see No Tomorrow, again, willing to start that off, but I can't help but feel like that was a very bold move by Octalysis, a high-risk, low-reward type trade. Even if they ended up, well, if they win it, they could snowball it, but it's, again, very, very, very scary.
Well, as we resume the action here, of course, with Whitemane and Zool falling, does leave Prismat to defend here against this camp, and this camp is getting some early game values. We see 1 tower down, likely another. Is Tomster again in a... look, man, if anybody's ever heard me, I think Tomster is a wonderful player. Circumstances, I think, have not always been in his favor, and it's been a long time since he's been on the ranged role. He's been in the off lane, he's been support, he's done whatever his team has needed. Now he's back to a role that I would have argued in the early part of his career was definitely one of the more standout roles that we've seen, especially for the newer blood of HGC, but now it's not as new as he used to be. He's more veteran than he is new at this point.
Definitely one of the longer standing names in competitive heroes. We see the Bone Prison come into play onto Jay Shrite throughout mid, but not providing too much kill potential, at least not yet, without Tychus there to be able to abuse the positioning there and kind of exploit the fact that he has that passive. There's very unlikely that you're going to see too many kills coming out from Octalysis with this composition. 4-man rotation for No Tomorrow down to the bottom half, though. Medivh yet to make a full commitment as you see Maiev with that tether pullback. We get the Force of Will coming in onto Budge. Jay Shrite trying to make his way out of here as Tomster is now the focus. And we see the Bone Prison come in, lock down Tomster as the first kill now here for Octalysis over the skirmish.
Just keep in mind that Zool becomes a lot tankier as this game goes on. Going into the Curse Strikes build, now he has the heal on that, of course has the cooldown at level 4. At 13, you start to get the attack speed, things of that nature. And in those fights, you can heal up quite a bit. The one thing on the other side, obviously Johanna has the blind, the Iron Skin to deal with it. As we get our first DK of the game, I was also surprised because we get Backlash, which is damage oriented instead of block. You basically get, you dodged attacks essentially. And we're seeing a change up. It does add to the damage. And speaking of damage, Jay Shrite, that's another kill.
No situation should Team Octalysis be able to have a Dragonite split pushing throughout mid with the 2-man defense and be able to get that kill on the bottom half of the battleground wall. At least 2 members of Octalysis showed that they were still there. That was definitely a mispositioning there for Jay Shrite, and this is now giving a huge window for Octalysis in the early stages of the game that I was so concerned with over that bottom skirmish. All of that is now gone, and more importantly, now that structures are opening up, this is what this composition is great at, Jay How, is manipulating the information with that Zool and the clear opportunities in the mid-deep portal for kills. Expects, I would say, a Night Invade or something very aggressive like that from Octalysis once the Dragonite phase ends. Cleanse there, almost maybe misused for a moment with Prismat, but...
Yeah, he's like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, you've got that. Yeah, it's Whitemane, right? So Whitemane has a different cleanse. It's basically a full cleanse, but it adds a stack of Desperation, so it does affect potentially your mana pool. You do get that Unstoppable. Speaking of Unstoppable, the Root's catching Jin at the end of that. He got the Wraith Walk away, but that thing still is attached to you.
And that's one thing I wanted to bring up a little bit when you're talking about the backlash opportunity on the Zool pickup at level 1, even though it isn't, I guess I don't even know what is the overall standard at this point in time. But I would say that one of the things with it is it works really great with the Medivh portal. Pop the Shade and then end up taking the aggressive portal, take out 12% of their max HP. Goku taking a pretty big chunk here over this camp, forcing out the Ardent Defender. It's a 2-minute cooldown there, something that No Tomorrow needs to be finding a way to take advantage of over this next Dragonite phase that is inevitably spawning over the next minute.
Now we can see the rotation already over to the Knights, and during this rotation we also have the Knight camp that did spawn at the bottom, so see if we get that double camp play coming out from Octalysis. We see No Tomorrow getting their Knight camp as well, which will give some top lane pressure, but really curious because you can actually see Raynor on the minimap trying to keep an eye on that, making sure, checking that bush, seeing if anybody is in there, keeping that Raynor's Raider, using that vision of that. Right now they've kept control of this bot lane, but we got Leoric coming down. They're looking for a fight. No Tomorrow is looking for a fight. They're buying time in that top lane with that camp, but
this is really important, though, for No Tomorrow. I feel like it's a great decision that they make this happen. They don't have to all-in commit to this fight. All they need to do is make sure that they're winning with the macro pressure on top and not letting the double camp give it up for free. It's a full 5-on-5, ladies and gentlemen, here, as we see Jay Shrite is going to go ahead and open up with the containment disc. Polybomb is dropped, actually going to get spread over to Leoric. They're all stuck in a corner, spreading it back and forth. They're trying to get the escape. No Tomorrow now needs to back out of here. Jay Shrite is the first to drop. Wraithwalk is used by Jin. But my goodness, talk about Polybomb value, J-How.
Oh, they're going in. They are going in right now. There's a cleanse on to Goku. They get another kill. They're continuing to dive. They have minions starting to make their way in as the Knight camps here. That's going to be a triple at the end of this. And Team Octalysis is starting to pick up momentum with this composition that we have no idea its ceiling at this point, but we can start to see it unfold again. Zul gets scarier as they go on. Akapace, he's going to be rooted. Are we going to get a fourth kill? Akapace unable to make it out. Octalysis, oh my goodness, is this really happening?
It's the single target lockdown between the Polybomb, the gap closing there that is provided by the Medivh portal, and the Bone Prison 2-second just you're stuck here having to eat the minigun. It's too much for No Tomorrow to be able to handle at this point in time. And I will say that a lot of this I don't feel is necessarily so much a holy cow, this composition is brand new, as much as it feels like No Tomorrow. These problems would exist no matter what Medivh comp you're playing. They're just not respecting Medivh compositions and how they can play around that portal whatsoever. Akaface, they're being willing to risk that positioning around his own keep. You know, at that point in time, again, it's one of those things that Medivh changes whenever he's on the battleground.
Nice knockback, because you can see the Raynor's Raider might have been able to get into position, but there is a leash range there. Whether it would have got there in time, we're not sure, but still, another plus here for Team Octalysis. Bottom four already down. Raynor's Raider was just taken down as the DK moves into the mid lane, and here comes another portal.
Jin dropping the Wraithwalk there with the Drain Hope onto the DK. You mentioned that single target kill lockdown potential. We also have the root coming in from White Main at 13. So even if you dodge one root, there could be another one following up right behind that. So you have to be very careful. Ooh. And maybe not needed there. Yeah, pretty heavily negated very quickly there. Jay, I've got to ask. You know, Jay Shrite, I feel like, is a player when it comes to the builds more often than not, you know, is got his own style here, but it's mainly the containment disc. I'm a little torn on the containment disc in this type of composition, whether or not is what you kind of expected here, because I guess when I looked at Octalysis' composition, the first thing I say is weakness to teamfight, and I don't go isolating any one of them is a major spike within my teamfight composition. I don't know, it just seems like maybe it's a trade-off tool that they maybe want at this point in time. Hold up, though, the root lands with the Polybomb. Jin trying to kite away. We'll get the Wraithwalk out. 13 talents here finally picked up for No Tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point, because the containment disc started to become more into the meta around the Clash. We saw Dignitas use it, but it was in a different circumstance, different battleground where rotations might be more heavy. And then Warden's Cage, obviously. We've seen some minor nerfs on Warden's Cage, but we know the impact is there. But then you have to think, is Medivh going to be able to portal in and out of this? So there are some trade-offs. I agree with you. Containment disc, though, where are you going to get the kills? But are you really getting the same thing with Warden's Cage? It's almost like a lose-lose situation. The impact of either against this composition is severely diminished than maybe against other comps.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird trade-off, because Medivh does do such a good job at dealing with both of the heroics that it is kind of a lose-lose scenario in either direction. But one is drastically greater. I guess, you know, you can't make the argument that the containment disc is not going to have as big of an impact. For me, again, a lot of it just came down to where am I going to be able to majorly gain an advantage over Octalysis. I go, the macro is pretty darn good. The rotations are going to be a huge advantage. I need to be able to team fight them in the later stages, and containment disc doesn't, again, kind of pack that punch. Maybe if you end up getting it onto an Odin, but it seems like a pretty disengaged type situation if you end up using it there with the Medivh portal and out. Goku, though, maybe caught out for a moment here. But
he's prepping those wings. Yeah. He's like, if there's an Entomb coming in, I'm jumping right over. No 16 yet, but now that that camp's picked up and the wave picked up We see Octalysis now at 16, see if they look to take a fight. Instead, they're going to double camp it. You can see Taika's already moving to the bottom, so we're going to have double camp. Zul continuing to push out in that mid lane, and as you said, controlling that rotation. You know, this might be a nice push here in the top lane. This fort is a foregone conclusion, but what are the repercussions, right? Because you get this, you have to back instantly. This is double camp, plus Zul minions, by the way, coming in, eating some of this. I would say eating the ammo, but it doesn't deplete, but it's keeping the other shots away from the minions temporarily.
Yeah, it's definitely setting a huge kind of setback here for No Tomorrow. Now they are looking to be able to get this response on the bottom half. I just feel like that siege for No Tomorrow, if they're going to apply that pressure, needed to be done a long while ago before the 16 window, and their keep is under siege. We see the Iron Skin already dropped there. Bone Prison is going to be used on to Casanova. He will end up surviving. Scroll the ceiling, goes down. Jin moves up, forces out the Wraith Walk already. Man, he gets chunked. Goku comes in with the leap and secures the kill there. And now, No Tomorrow on full retreat.
There's another one.
Goes through onto Casanova. 2 members already down here, J-How.
And it's just continuing. The assault continues. Siege Giants are here. The Odin has expired. They don't have minions, but they're still looking for kills. Jay Shrite, he's trying to play around. Containment Disc, it's going to miss. The Vault's going to save him for now, but the Keep will not survive. And Octalysis 10 kills to 2 with that camp. Yes, they gave up that top fort, but I would say that was a very favorable exchange in favor of Octalysis.
And now No Tomorrow need to find a way to be able to gain the control back. A lot of the compositional fears and advantages are drastically kind of blown out of proportion whenever they lose that bottom keep into their favor. They do have a reasonable amount of clear itself, but they need to find a way to be able to get, in my opinion, probably a containment disc isolation pick or something of the like to be able to redeem some kind of control back onto the battleground. Otherwise, Octalysis is just going to keep up what they've been doing so far. Worst case scenario, they end up just backing out, disengaging, waiting for the 20 spike after taking top fort. That's one of the beauties of having Medivh on your team. You pretty much get to choose any and every fight you have.
Well, you mentioned the single target damage. We have amplify damage for Zul picked up at 16, so whenever you do get rooted by that, you have 25% armor reduction for 1.75 seconds. And I believe we saw earlier today Purge the Wicked by Whitemane picked up in EU during one of the earlier matchups, which is another 25 armor reduction. Obviously, there's a cap on armor reduction, but it doesn't stop you from using a root on one. Once that cooldown, that Iron Skin or of the like is down, just double down on it. You have so much single target focus. There's no cleanse with a Deckard, so maybe this is a pseudo Deckard counter the same way that we saw the likes of Dignitas using that Johanna Chromie as most recently at the Clash, things of that nature. So maybe this is a calculated approach, maybe this is an every game approach, but we're going to find out as Odin is here for defense.
Polybomb already going to be dropped. Look at Jay Shrite taking so much damage. Vault already used 2. He has to get a full disengage, but Goku's not going to let that happen as he goes through the portal. He eats a containment disc of it. He's going to be just fine. 10 seconds until Ardent Defender is available. Goku, leap number 2 onto Jin. He gets a kill before the Wraith Walk even completes. And now this is going to be just how many victims do No Tomorrow actually have at the end of the skirmish here. Stay a while and listen. Locks down 4.
See how much that buys because Casanova's still holding strong. Akaface, he's stuck. There's a Prismat in his way. Here comes the portal again. Jay Shrite starting to walk away, but he's going to get taken down. Casanova has the Iron Skin. Will it buy enough time? Goku with the leap in. There's going to be the root. Whitemane making the plays, getting the follow-up. Bud says, guys, it's over. It's said and done. Let's go, champ. As they round out this game, they're going to move directly to the core to take game number 1 with a solo Zul tank. Yeah, Urel's there. But make no mistake about it, that was Justin, the main tank for Octalysis on the Zul.
And even with a extremely offensive support and the fact that we got Whitemane being picked up and, you know, that kind of pseudo-support specialist known as Medivh. Very interesting composition here for Octalysis. And though, J-How, I know we started out, we say we, I say it's definitely me. I was very skeptical about how this composition would end up working. I just want to bring it back to light here, ladies and gentlemen, that this is one of our struggling teams here in North America that we've watched this unfold onto. And that I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a fool me once. I want to see if it works here again, because it looks good. But again, I can't help but feel like if the teams looking out for that are going to find a way to be able to deal with it. Either way, though, impressive adaptation here from Octalysis. The execution very much there.
10 kills for Prismat. He was basically served all of those kills up. Look, don't get me wrong, Prismat's a great player, but when you have that much control from your team, that is served up on a silver platter saying, Prismat, here you go. Here's dinner. There's even some leftovers as well. Please don't gorge too much because they just dominated that game. It started out that weird night camp at the bottom.
Yeah.
They went for the invade, didn't have the success, but after that, it was full steam ahead. Never seen anything like it. I'm waiting to see what we have in store.
Yeah.
Justin replied to me. I tweeted out about how we were getting excited today. He had this clever little GIF out there, and then he put enhance, like as in keep your eyeballs peeled for this one.
I don't know how I feel about that. If it gets more wild than a Zool composition here. Again, I feel like it's a little bit difficult to struggle in evaluating it as well, just purely based on the fact that knowing the skill disparity between these teams, and it's the first time we've seen either one of them, right? So it's like, how comfortable, no Tomorrow here, 3 role swaps coming in. Are they dealing with any kind of composition, let alone a Warrior Zool composition with a Medivh kind of interesting 1-4? Like, I don't know. It's very, very difficult, and it makes me, hopeful to be able to see a game number 2. I feel like No Tomorrow just didn't really have the tools necessary in that type of situation to be able to deal with that, and I wonder if they had drafted meta, would No Tomorrow look a little bit better in that game?
Oh, we're going to find out, but we have some words out there in the Twitterverse. You too have the tools available if you want to use that hashtag HGC. But Critic Kitten, is that a solo tank Yrel with a double soaking Zool? All right, then. You have my attention. Hashtag HGC. Critic Kitten. You got it backwards. That's a double soaking Yrel with a solo tank Zool. We're breaking the rules here today.
Zool, ever since his wave clear adjustments, he can't compete as much as the double soaker there. But you're right. They did opt more for the Yrel double soak with the Zool. Like, I'm a part of the 4-man. I think a lot of that came down to, like, well, if Yrel joins the 4 and Zool's your off clear, how do you ever engage, right? Because you're just going to portal, and she's like, can I slap him with a hammer back? Because that's about all we have for the initiation. The Bone Prison helped made up for that a lot more. Plus, with the off-lane pressure you get from, the skeletons in his passive over the bottom half of the battleground is why we saw that. But it is still really dope what we ended up getting there from all the members of Octalysis. I just don't know, how long do we get it for, And it's like, how long? There's so many questions I have. Like, at this point, I'm just like, let's just see.